Next up, from our YA writer in residence, we have Miriam Zoila Perez.
Hi, friends. I'm Miriam Zoila Perez. I'm a 5'2", light-skinned Latinx genderqueer mask of Cuban descent. I'm wearing a teal button-up with green cactuses on it and orange glasses. I have short, dark, curly hair and a grown-out fade. This is an excerpt from my contemporary YA novel, Camila Nunez's Year of Disasters. The book starts with Camila's best friend Cindy gifting her a tarot deck for her 17th birthday. And when they do a reading about her year to come, it's ominous. Camila spends the 6 months before the scene I'm gonna read freaking out about it, as many of the bad things it predicted come true. After a huge blow up with her boo, her best friend, and her parents, Camila runs off to her abuela's house in Miami. The sun was just starting to rise when we pulled into the parking lot at St. Hugh. It was a familiar place, but given everything that had happened, seeing the steeple of the church building just made my stomach clench even tighter. What was Abuela planning? Some kind of exorcism? A covert Cuban Catholic conversion therapy? I was relieved when we entered the chapel and it was empty and quiet. I'd come many times before with Abuela when she was concerned about some relative or another who was sick or struggling. She'd put a few dollars in the offer box and use one of the wooden sticks to light a white jar candle. After, she'd kneel and pray quietly to herself. But today she led me up to the front pew and slid wordlessly down to the middle of the bench. I followed her. We sat quietly for a few minutes and I took my first deep breath, maybe the first real one since my 17th year had begun. I let the quiet and the morning light beginning to slide up the stained glass soothe me a tiny bit. Camila, quiero decirte una cosa, pues varias cosas. My stomach clenched again. I know this has been a hard year for you. I looked at her, surprised. I didn't think it had been so obvious. I can see it in your face, cariño. She gently touched my brow between my eyes, and I felt the crease there. I also felt a release as she pulled her hand away. Your mommy told me about las cartas. My eyes grew wide, and my palms felt sweaty. Even Abuela knew? What did mommy do, host a family conference call to talk about how screwed up Camila was? Camila, tú sabes que I'm very religious. She gestured around us. This is where I come for inspiration, for guidance, for help when things are difficult. I nodded. I know it's not your place, cariño. I looked at her, searching her eyes for judgment or sadness. That's okay, she continued, patting my leg. We all have to find our sources of support and inspiration. But those cards, mija, you can't let them make you afraid. But Abuela, they've been so right. They predicted so many hard things this year. I know, mija, I know. But life is like this sometimes. Hard things happen. Sometimes my horoscope from Walter Mercado seems to be forecasting what is difficult. Sometimes it's that vieja Señora Martinez with her tea leaves, but we can't let those things scare us into not living, cariño. I didn't know you paid attention to all of that. I thought you'd think it was brujeria. Camila, there's brujeria and magic in everything. Look at El Señor up there, she said, pointing to the huge crucifix at the front of the chapel. You don't think there's magic in what he created? Look around. I took in the church around me again with new eyes. The candles, the imagery, all the virgenes and the incense. It really wasn't that different than what Cindy and I had been experimenting with. She placed her hand on my shoulder. The important thing is you find something that gives you hope, not makes you afraid. She paused and I took this in, peering down at the grubby sneakers against the dark tile floor. I come here because it gives me peace and it makes me remember my strength and all the energy that are supporting me. I nodded. I could see that. I knew how much it helped her, even despite all of the difficult things she had dealt with over the years. I don't think those cards are doing that for you, cariño. I think you have to find something else. Something that will make it easier for you to get out of bed every morning. Something that reminds you of how strong and resilient you are. Tears welled up in my eyes. It just hadn't seemed possible through this whole year of fear and predictions and dealing with so much hard stuff for it to be that simple. Abuela put her arm around my shoulder and pulled me next to her. I let the tears come, finally. I let my whole body succumb, and every emotion I'd been struggling so hard against all year long, I finally stopped trying to rein in. I was aware enough to be a little bit embarrassed, but I felt Abuela pull me tighter against her, and I heard her soothing voice above my head. Estás bien, cariño. Estás bien. No tienes que preocupar. She handed me a handkerchief which had her initials monogrammed on it. I took in her scent as I wiped my messy face. The familiar smell just made me cry harder. After what felt like an eternity, I'd finally run out of tears. I sat up and took a deep breath. Pero, abuelita, tú sabes que soy... I trailed off. I didn't even know what language to use with her. She nodded her head. Sí, cariño, yo sé. I waited, once again scanning her face for a reaction. How did you know? I asked. Your amiguita from last summer, she replied. Sonia? Sí, esa. I could tell that wasn't just a friendship. But I didn't want to pry. I figured you would tell me when you were ready. I was worried that because of all of this, I gestured around us, you wouldn't accept me. Ay, amor, that's the church, not God. I know that God wants me to love all of his creatures. As long as you are happy, I will love and support you. The tears started again, but with a sense of relief this time. In all of my years of hiding from her, I'd never imagined this was how things would end. Thank you.
Thank you, Perez.